seen it. It's a fantastic film, Rupture. You will be out of your seats. The action is phenomenal, but it's more than that. But firstly, let me introduce you to the cast and crew. Ranjeet, Marwa, the director, screenwriter and producer. Mark Strange, and he's no stranger to us, I'm sure. James Bryhan. David Lamont.
You missed me.
Oh, Nick.
And Nick Carter, gentlemen. Talk about making Ranjeet, I want to come straight to you if I could. That dystopian future that you portrayed is inspiring. What inspired you towards creating something like that? And what films inspired you as well? Because you can see that on the screen because it pops, you know, the DP, the lighting, the way it's like structured. It's brilliantly kind of the filmography of it also. What inspired you to create this kind of world?
Well, it wasn't movies so much. I mean, yeah, there is influence of movies, but my inspiration was actually from a video game, Cyberpunk 2077. So I don't know if anybody's played that game. The game itself is terrible, but the whole idea and concept of the game is amazing. And I was just like, what would Cyberpunk look like if it was a movie? And with what I have, what access to the things that I have available to me right now, could I make that? And is that a possibility? But not just make it like, you know, like an action thriller, but I wanted to incorporate some kind of, if you want to call it, raid style fight scenes. And I was introduced to Mark, and Mark and I wanted to work together on another movie. But I thought it was probably best for Mark to take the lead, you know, with his background as an action star, as a martial artist, and adapt and bring both worlds together, which is the sci-fi cyberpunk look, along with where Mark comes from, which is the martial arts side of things. And so Cyberpunk was one, and definitely I think I had some inspiration from Blade Runner 2049 as well. So I kind of just melted them all together and just made Rupture.
Well, you tell me how much it's gonna take to make you go away, Raven.
Definitely has some, I would say, dramatic beats within the script. Was it something you were conscious about bringing kind of some heart and soul to the story alongside the action?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, we've seen a lot of action movies which are just like 99% action movies, and like there's no story to it. I kind of wanted to break that mold and tell a story, tell something. It wasn't just like, it was a love story essentially between a man and his wife, and you know, a lot of the grey area in between and things that take place. The man trying to do things what he thinks are good, but it's never good in somebody else's eyes, and that then in turn makes that person colder and then going down again the wrong path. So so there was that story side to it, but then obviously the bits or ways carrying out whatever motive he's doing is inspired by all of the martial arts side of stuff.
And let's get on to the action. Mark, firstly, what a cool name, Raven Black. I mean, that is
awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, if you could have a futuristic name, that's a pretty cool name. I'd be quite happy with that and stuff. What drew you to the project initially?
Well, you know, I got in touch. I got put forward by a friend of mine to Ranjeet, and that's how we kind of met. And he told me all about it, and it sounded pretty awesome, and it was great to be part of it, you know. And you know me, I love anything that, you know, has violence in it. You know, and this had a lot of that in it, so, and it was kind of, but it was cool as well. The character was very troubled, and you know, I hope I brought everything to the table that you wanted, my friend. So, yeah, it was fun.
Dramatic beats that you've got a real bandwidth within the film to actually give some real kudos to your acting capabilities. And we know we've seen you in lots of other things and stuff, but it's nice to get to see that side of you as well.
Yeah,
stuff.
no.
And I'm sure
Thank
you know,
you.
ladies and maybe the gentlemen as well will love the fact that you got your shirt off again, which is fine.
Well, I was
You're allowed
actually,
to do
I
that.
was actually looking at that, and I was probably in the worst shape I'd ever been in. Yeah, so but it kind of works for the character, you know. He's a down and out, he's prison, you know. So it's kind of obviously I wasn't bench pressing in prison, you know. I was planning my strategy to come back to get these guys, you know.
Let's talk about it. Nick, if I may. Nick the Blade Khan, we'll come on to that in a minute. I think the close quarters fight, and we saw a clip of it there, it's probably my favourite fight of the film. A couple of reasons, that Carly inspired martial arts I think that you had going on, and obviously the cookery, probably the knives, the kind of Gurkha knives, but in that small space, it's like looked really challenging to do. Was that an action set piece that took time to do and work out?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've been working on obviously various projects, and nobody be given like morning rehearsal, evening shoot. That's not obviously ideal, but that's how the real world works. Unless you're working on a huge franchise. So for me, sort of, because I think about violence all the time, just like Mark. I mean, if I'm at work and I'm just thinking about how to kill people quickly, efficiently. You know, obviously it helps.
There's a pussycat.
I'm still got questions to ask.
But I mean, the whole thing was because that's my background. I'm not an actor at the moment, but I'm trying to obviously transition to that. But the main thing was, what can I make work with Mark? Because I've worked with people like Mark's Road. I mean, I've worked with a lot of guys in Thailand, so I've had the ability to work. A lot of people also learn that not everyone can do the same stuff. So the problem is, I don't want everyone to do a jab, cross, kick, or elbow, but I could just make someone to work with obviously what they have. But with Mark, he's been doing this long before obviously I came onto the scene. So for him, it was easy. But what we wanted to do was not to copy someone, but actually take a lot of stuff. So the cookery inspiration was taken from the British Army, because I'm still active in the British Army. So obviously working with people and actually seeing how different sort of infantry soldiers were, I was like, I actually like that. Now it has been used on previous films, but I wanted to go with the two versus Empty Hand, and then Empty Hand versus One. So there's a lot of stuff that we do. Time is always against us. There's a lot of issues and challenges on film sets, but obviously as a fight guy, as a fight choreographer, we just learned to suck it up. So yeah, it was challenging, but it wasn't challenging for me and Mark per se. It was more trying to get the camera angles with the time, with the location managers, and kind of just working. But I think for what we had, and considering that Mark, you know, how long did we take to rehearse in Manchester? About 2-3 hours, was it?
Yeah, it was a couple of hours, wasn't it?
Couple hours,
Yeah.
okay, that's it. And then obviously I was working away teaching seminars, and then obviously as soon as I got back, literally came in on set and we just got it. And then there was a lot of on-the-spot changes that we had to make because of the roles, location, what looks good. If we had maybe a whole day, I definitely think we could have obviously amplified it. But with what we have, you know, I think it's okay.
Oh, it's more than okay. I don't think you need to amplify anything about it. It's perfect in how you describe it. And kudos to both of you as professionals to come up with that in that short space of time. Obviously, I didn't realise, but wait until you see it on screen. It will pop. It amplifies now, and when you see it, it's going to be one of the standout things you're going to see on screen. It's fantastic. James, let me drag you in because I know you're the quiet one from the bunch.
Yeah.
How much did you work on the character, the One-Eye Sanford? You know, did you put your own stamp on it? You know, how much did you put into that character to create who he was? Because he's great on screen.
The thing is with characters like Sanford,
Yeah.
they can be considered bad guys, but from my point of view, whatever I do isn't evil. It isn't bad, it isn't wrong, it's for my benefit, for me to earn my money. So I do what I have to do. So the inspiration for that character comes from people like Ted Bundy, Wayne Gacy.
To be clear, when I said the question, I whether the thing was inspired by you personally, James, because I know you're a nice guy. But you drew on something to bring it out on screen, absolutely.
Well, those type of characters, I drew on them because of the viciousness of their nature. because there's moments in the film where you actually see that side of him come out, but there's moments where you see he's a charming, it's almost sociopathic in the way that he's charming and gets along with people, and he's got this ability to draw people in before he messes them up. But he's a very interesting character, because he's not like your normal standard bad guy. He's not just going in there and just going, ha ha ha, I'm going to do all this. He has a plan, and it's about power, but it's more the show of that power than actually having that power.
There's definitely layers to the character.
Yeah.
There's more, and that's what I mean about the film and stuff. You just see it in perfect. There's another action film I was going to watch. No, there's more to that. There's dramatic beats. There's layers to the character. You're trying to find out more about the character you go on, and you discover it as the film goes on. It isn't like here's a good guy, here's a bad guy. There's different aspects to that character, and that draws you into the film.
Yeah, well, it's like the relationship between my character and Mark's character. I won't go into it too much, but it's almost like a brotherhood, and it's how they deal with that fallout of it afterwards, and it's almost like a love story, if you like. You know, because their characters have been through a lot, so it's almost like that one would trust. You know, when you hear people say, "Oh, I trust you," you know, to not rob me, I trust you not to do certain things to me. The trust that these characters had was the trust that you would never hurt me. And then it's the blowout from what happens after that, and it's definitely a lot different to when you see vengeance movies or horror movies or movies where it's just bad guy versus bad guy. This has got a combination of quite a lot of things that you wouldn't normally see. It's a killer of a movie. And it was a pleasure to work alongside Mark.
Likewise, always.
3 years in that shithole, and you still ain't learned how to forgive yet, Raven? Where are you, boy?
Do you know? I was thinking of calling him.
David,
Hello.
David Lamont as Smoke, ladies and gentlemen. You're gonna get a real kick out of this character. I certainly did. Slightly crazy, slightly unhinged. That's the character Smoke.
Yeah,
I know we could say that.
I just played myself.
Well, I mean, I think it goes without saying, really. I've got to answer the question, but was it a fun role to develop and portray?
It was absolutely amazing, yeah. It's probably the most fun that I've had with a character. And what I wanted to do with it, because it's an action film, I wanted to take inspiration from what I consider to be the golden era of cinema, which is the 1970s, when you had amazing characters like Randall McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Dustin Hoffman in Midnight Cowboy, and these proper characters, do you know what I mean? You've got so much depth and so much, you know, you never know which way they're going to turn, and that's what I wanted to do, and like blend that into this type of movie, and you know, and I hope I've done a good job, Ranjeet.
That's why you're not on the screen.
That's why you're not on the screen. There's confidence from your director there.
But yeah, it was an amazing shoot, and these guys are just so cool to work with. It just ran like clockwork, didn't it? So.
The ensemble can't know him, so then I've had the privilege to see the film, and it's fantastic, like I say, for all the action, dramatic bits and stuff. And Smoke is a prominent character there, and he does drive the story, so don't take anything away from yourself. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, it's alright.
Ranjeet, I'd just like to say, Birmingham born and bred. Thank you, one of our own, ladies and gentlemen. Well done. Thank you for that.
Those like 3 people that said
Yeah. Well, you got the crowd going there. It's my own fault. Anyway, was it a conscious decision to film some of it in Birmingham? Obviously, you can see.
Yeah, I mean, filming in Birmingham is, you know, it's easier because it's your hometown. You have access to everything and everyone. And I think part of that was kind of inspired by Gareth Evans, who just loves to shoot in Cardiff all the time. So for me, it was just like, well, fuck it, and I'm just gonna shoot at home. And I could go home, go to sleep, and everyone has to stay in a hotel. So yeah, I mean, because I know Birmingham so well, and I know every corner, I know everybody, I know the council very well, so they helped a lot. And James, I've worked with over the last 10, 12 years, it was easy for me to bring him in because I know, like, James is, I don't know what you're saying, because James is like my muse for every film. I bring him in, I'm like, where can I fit James in, right? And so, I retract that comment.
Good man.
So yeah, it was just easy for me to just bring everybody in. I mean, like me, David, and James, we've known each other for a long time. Mark have just recently been introduced over the last 2 years.
I was the outsider,
Yeah.
I know he's one of the brothers. And
But that's why he's on the end. So it was easy for me to just bring this team together, bring the crew together, and just film in my hometown and just be like, look, we can put Birmingham on the map and, you know, not make it look like Birmingham. I mean, there are a few landmarks, which, you know, which is like the Arcadian and a few places like that. So I was like, let's take some of those places around Birmingham, let's change them up. And, you know, let's just make it our own and make it like a futuristic cyberpunk looking movie, and hopefully that's what I've done.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
You think you're in hell because you did a little bit of time. It was me.
3 fucking years.
Anybody got or would like to ask a question? I have a microphone here as well.
No.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey.
All 5 of you, when you were growing up as lads, what action film, action star inspired you when you grew up in this whole industry?
Well, I grew up watching a lot of action films with my dad who's there. I remember watching Terminator constantly, number 2, Rambo constantly, and I think Commando was on every now and then. But then as I grew older, I got more into animated stuff, which was like, you know, the Batman animated series and all that kind of stuff, X-Men. And then I became a bit of a nerd and got into comic books, and then I grew into movies, and then I just digested every movie that I could, whether it was a really terrible movie or a really good movie. I just sat there. My first thing was to watch, always the first thing was to watch all the behind the scenes filmmaking, how the movie was made, and then watch the movie, because then I'd appreciate the movie even more. And over the last like 15, 20 years, that's what I've been doing. So every time I watch a movie, if I buy one on DVD, I'll never watch the movie first. I'll always watch the behind the scenes to understand how the movie was made, so then I can appreciate it when I finally do get to watch it. And so that's kind of always been my thing. And action movies wise, yeah, it's just, like David said, it's always been those old school filmmaking, but then the new school ones as well, which is like your Ong Bak, your The Protector, the Raid movies, The Night Comes For Us, Headshot, all those kind of movies are like super influential to me. And the cinematography for this movie was something that I tried to replicate. Was when I went to Indonesia and met with the guys from the Raid and The Night Comes For Us. It was that kind of filmmaking that I wanted to make. And luckily that we had Mark Strange who knows that world, who knows that type of martial art, and Nick also. We went to Indonesia together, and we were able to sit with the masters over there, you know, Yayan and Chechep, who were the 2 guys from the Raid, and learn how they tell the stuff. And for me to sit personally with the director of The Night Comes For Us, and for him to tell me how the movie was made, and coach me on that, this is how we do things, this is how action is made. And, you know, to spend a good 6, 7, 8 days with them every day, non-stop, you know, I think is a privilege very few get to have. And I put that knowledge into Rupture, and hopefully it's shown on the screen, hopefully it'll show in the movie when people do finally get to watch the final thing. Sorry to answer that very short question.
For me, it was kind of, it was Stallone, Jackie Chan, all the old school kind of, Chinese kind of Hong Kong masters, I call them. That was for me the great, obviously getting to work with Jackie Chan on 2 features back in when I was a young whippersnapper as well. That was incredible, because when you grow up in a place called Lamont, which is middle of nowhere, yeah, you never ever think that you'd be watching your hero as a kid, and then next minute you're working with him. That is just so surreal. it's incredible. But Stallone really, for me, action-wise, he's got it all. He directs, he kind of he acts. He's got the whole package. So for me, it's Stallone. But it's kind of I'm a massive action junkie, and I'm a huge fan of 80s and 90s action movies, in-camera action. I'm not a massive fan of kind of too many special effects. I like seeing wires used. I like seeing people being thrown and chucked and hit. John Wick is up there. Modern time. I like the whole assassin thing, and it's just incredible. Obviously working with Scott and on things as well. Learned so much on this journey, and it's took me all over the world, and very grateful from being a little kid, looking up to all these great gods of action, and then obviously getting the opportunity to work with them has been insane. I think bar working with you guys and a career highlight so far, it's got to be it, man. That to me it was insane. That was, I was on a magazine actually, and it said Ip Man 2, and it had a picture of Samo and I was on the front cover, and then I never thought, like, several years later I'd be in that franchise. Was insane. But you can do anything, you just got to put your mind to it. That's,
Yeah.
Sorry, I've no, that's okay. I'll try my mine a bit shorter than everyone else.
Maybe should do James last.
I kind of grew up, I grew up in the 70s, so I grew up on films that were superhero type stuff. So you had the $6 Million Man, which probably the majority of you have never heard of. The Incredible Hulk, and programs like that. So I always wanted to be the Bionic Man. So I wanted to be the strength, the part robot. I'm a big sci-fi nerd, more than anything else. And horror films come a close second. So ever since I was 4 years old, I just wanted to jump out the window and fight everybody and be the most powerful man in the world. I thought I was Superman at one point. And then it just kind of was a progression from there. Like Ranjeet, I was a comic book fan, so I started making my own comics, my own drawings and everything else, and then I started actually living it out. My parents used to think I was psychotic because I'd be in my bedroom fighting the Invisible Man. I'd be there throwing punches, going. And then as I got older, I just went to drama school. All I wanted to do is it was just act. I didn't care what the role was. I didn't care who I was with. I didn't care if I was playing the bad guy, the good guy, the psycho guy, the upset guy. I just wanted to be in anything where I could show off and act. And then it's taken me how long? 12, 13 years to get to a really good standard where people started noticing my work, and then I started getting offered really good projects. And then I kind of narrowed my options down now, because there's only certain things I like doing. So type of films I would say is horror, not so much action, even though I do love action films and I have a lot of respect for action films, but I'm more about using laser guns and everything else. So when Ranjeet came up with Rupture, and it's a cyberpunk thing, it reminded me a lot of Blade Runner, and I didn't care what role. Ranjeet offered me the role that I was doing, but I said, I'd even walk just past the screen for 2 minutes just to be in it, because it was such a fantastic script. It's going to be such a mind blower. I'm so proud of Ranjeet to see, because we've known each other a very long time, to see where he started to where he is now, and guarantee in the next 5 years he's going to be up on that red carpet up and down in Hollywood. It's just an honour to work with him on all these projects. In fact, I dropped projects to actually work with him. That's how good this guy is.
It's been a long time, Raven.
Why should
should we worry about the future if it's something we cannot change?
So, see, we're all pretty similar ages, so we were like growing up in the 80s, so we had like the backlog of the 1970s, and then the VHSs came out in the 1980s, and the Betamaxes, yeah, so we had like the First Blood, which I think is the greatest action film ever made, and it's still my favourite, and I think First Blood, yeah, the first one, yeah, and the second one, I got obsessed with that as a child, and I used to watch it every single day until I knew the script word for word as a kid. You know what I mean? I get in from school and I was watching Rambo every single day.
And you know what? He only kills one person in that film.
Yeah, I know.
It's the guy that falls out the
helicopter.
helicopter.
Yeah, the helicopter golf, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a great time, and also I fell in love with the B movies from the 80s, the Cannon collection, the American Ninja 2, Avenging Force, Delta Force. You know what I mean? So I love B movies. I love B movies. I think you can find so much joy in them, even if things are not done very well. It doesn't matter. It's a fun experience. So I just love watching stuff like that. And then when I decided to become an actor, I was actually 34. I started pretty late, and I first met Ranjeet in 2011, and he advertised for this role in a film called Killer Capone. And I put myself out there, and I'd never done a film before. It was like my first one. So I think somebody dropped out and I inboxed him and he got me down there and we shot this little short, didn't we, in a day. And then that was it. And then we've worked on so many films since then, from Gangsters, Goons and Psychopaths to Hostile Situation. I know we've done promos, haven't we? And he's never ever forgot me. Do you know what I mean? Because it might have been about 2 or 3 years where we didn't work together. And then when he got a budget for Exile, the first thing he did was get in touch with me. You know, and he's never forgot the people that have, you know, given so much energy and so much loyalty. And that will always be. I would drop anything to work with this guy.
There's a lot of love going on. Nick, finally.
Fine for me, obviously it was Van Damme back in the days, Rocky, just like everyone else, but I think the turning point for me was obviously the raid, I'm back, and then obviously also going to Thailand and getting a chance to train with some teams and seeing how much work was actually needed to actually develop yourself. So I think everything in general, I mean obviously you see everything now from the Marwa universe, but for me what always gets me intrigued, that gets me glued, is the violence. I love violence. I think violence is like
poetry.
It's like sex. It's like an art itself. It's like how the way you choreograph something, how the way you bring it to life, how the way actors bring it up. It's a story in itself. So for me, if it's the same jab cross kick, then it gets kind of boring. This is me. For me, I know obviously just like a lot of the audience, but a lot of the movies are the same. With action now, if you look at Kung Fu, if you look at wrestling, if you look at a lot of the stuff that's been mixed in due to MMA. So for me, it's like every single movie that comes out, whether it's manga movies as well, if there's something different in there, I might just kind of take it on board. But I think for me, it's more kind of, I can't really enjoy it. Action movies, no, I can't actually enjoy martial art. I'm actually just trying to dissect it, but also go, okay, I could do this, or I could do that. But yeah, but obviously Jackie Chan was a huge inspiration, and obviously Donnie Yen, and yeah, so it's just pretty much everything. So wonderful.
That's great.
Just how important do you think the martial arts training has been, respectfully, as actors and directors, to film a full-on action movie like this?
Well, I come from a fight background, and my entire career has been martial arts from when I was 10 years old. It was movies that got me into it, and then I went full circle from being a fighter to an actor to doing it pretend kind of thing. And when I say pretend, I've been injured more doing films than I have entire fight career, yeah, for real. So it's it's a tough industry. Definitely if you work in Hong Kong, yeah, they don't care if you're an actor over there. Yeah, you know, you do your stuff, you know, and you get on with it and you do a good job, you know.
There's a decided shortage of stunt doubles over there, isn't there? So it's either you or not, and that's it.
Yeah, and I don't like using doubles. I'll do all my own stuff. Yeah, so that's how pretty much I work, you know. Unless they want me to jump off a building because I'm scared of heights. I'll never do that.
That's all we got time for, because we're going to go to the next bit. We've got a fun-packed day for you. Once again, for your entertainment, the cast and crew of Rupture, ladies and gentlemen.